Okay, so we're looking at a typical quantitative question in the multi-choice. This is from 2008, where you get tables of information as well as graphs of information. Now you've got to combine these two together. Now there's lots of countries and populations and things, but we're not going to use all of them. Okay, so what I want you to do is, before we start the question, just make sure you understand what the headings are. That's pretty straightforward. There's countries and there's populations, but just make sure you understand what those are before we start the question. Okay, so just pause and have a look through. Okay, so we're looking at average hours worked per person per week. Okay, and on this side is GDP per hour. Okay, so this is per hour and this is hours worked per week. Okay, so just make sure you understand those two things. Okay, I want you to look at question 49, and again, there's ways of doing it, but sometimes it's easier to just work your way through the choices and eliminate the answers until you get to the right answer. So I want you to pause and then come back live. Okay, so let's have a look through. I won't give you the answer yet. So let's have a look. Now, the word all is important. So, okay, for instance, this is a low number. So we've got, for instance, Turkey and France have low hours. And do they all have high GDP? And the answer is no. So that's wrong. Okay, again, all countries. So all countries with low GDP, so that's going, I'll change the colour so you can just see. Sorry, change colours. Okay, so that's, okay, so they've got low GDP, and do they have low hours? All have low hours? No, they've all got different hours. So that answer's wrong. Change colours again. Okay. GDP increases as hours increases. No, because as hours increase that way, the GDP actually goes down, and so you're just left with this one, which is the right answer. Okay, average hours decreases. Okay, so average hours decreases and GDP increases. So D was the right answer. Coming across when you're ready. Okay, so again, it's the same information. I just copied it across, and so we get this question here: what's the best estimate of GDP per person for Australia? Okay, so there's Australia, and you need to find is Australia. Okay, so down that way and across that way. So have a go, and when you're ready, come back live. Okay, so in this question here, we didn't have to use the table. We're just using the graph. And again, it's an estimate. You haven't got a calculator, so you just have to do an estimate. Okay, so for instance, about 60. It's not 60. It doesn't have to be exactly right. So $60 per hour, and it's about 17 hours. Now, it's an estimate, so we can just make 17 into 20. That's about right. 2 sixes are 12 with 2 zeros. So I've increased the 17 to 20, and I've increased 57 to 60. So the only answer that's reasonable is the C. Again, this is the worst distractor to pick. If you're gonna guess, never guess one that's not possible to determine. But it was actually just an estimate, so you just have to have a play with the numbers. You don't have to do 50. You don't have to do 57 times 17 or anything silly like that. It's just an estimate. Okay, come across when you're ready. Okay, so this last one increases the level with just one more bit of information, and the information is that people work part-time, they work full-time, or they don't work at all, and they work 36 hours per week. Okay, so see if you can use, this time we're gonna use all the information on those three things. This is the last question, so it's always gonna be the hardest, and see how you go. Okay, so we've got France, and so we've got France's average hours equals 12 hours. Now they've got 60 million people, so the total hours equals 60 million times 12 equals 720 million hours. And each person who works full-time is 36 hours. So 720 million divided divided by 36 equals 20 million, which is B. Okay, so we didn't have to do anything hard. Like, they're working 12 hours a week on average. There's 60 million people, so the total number of hours worked is 720 million, and then we use that information there to get the 20 million. Okay, hope you did well. Bye.